Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Wood Memorial Day Talking Horses. Anthony Stabile and Andy Serling, an 11-race card. Nice day today, fast and firm, Anthony. Big day. It's kind of like, I don't know if this is the official light at the end of the tunnel, but it feels like this is really the welcoming mat into a lot of good racing to come here in New York.
Perfect day here in New York. A couple of folks walking through saying it's a perfect day. It's a perfect day. It really is. Beautiful
Perfect to
day.
be here.
Yeah, come on out. Let's go. Big card, 11 races, 4 graded stakes. The first grade one of the year here in the Carter. And of course, we wrap the Kentucky Derby and Oaks Trail here with the Gazelle and of course the Wood Memorial.
Yeah, my first Wood Memorial Live was Bold Forbes in 1976, actually. We'll start out with the usual drill. Head over to Naira Bets if you're not a member of Naira Bets. No better time than the present. Use the promo code BONUS200. We will match the $200 of your initial deposit. Play through Naira Bets. Keep the money in the game. We have the middle pick 4 is in race number 4 today. One of 3 on the cards, races 2, 4, and 8. We also have an additional pick 5, races 5 through 9. So we have pick 5s in races 1, 5, and 7. Keep track of all that on today's 11-race card. The first 11-race card of the year. Won't be the last one, though, I'll promise you that. What else do we have? We have the Derby Bankroll Builder. Bet 50 to win in the Wood Memorial because you got to opt in for this one as well. Win, lose, or draw. You'll get $20 towards your Derby Bankroll. We also have the Derby handicapping event, the Derby dinner with Maggie, Acacia, and Anthony as well. That's Wednesday, May 3rd at King Umberto's. You can email Anthony at anthonystabile31@AOL.com. Also, what do we have? We have the cross country, pick 5. That is the Bayshore, the Carter, races 6 and 8, and you go to the Shakertown, race 8, and the Bluegrass, race 9, and finally the Wood Memorial. So 2 at Keeneland, 3 here at Aqueduct, all stakes, all graded. We also have the shows today. So we are on from 12 to 2 on FS1. We are on from 2 to 4:30 on FS2, and then we have a break. And we're back on Big Fox from 6 to 6:30, presenting you the Wood Memorial. That is from 6 to 6:30.
I had to check the year, 1983. I still have a pair of goggles from Bounding Basque.
I want to say it was split. I think
yep.
that Slew of Gold won one division,
Correct.
and Bounding Basque won the other one.
Yep, Bounding. I still have a pair of goggles from Greg McCarron winning the second.
Bounding Basque?
That would be Woody Sedlak.
Woody said.
Yep.
Bounding Basque won the 1985 Brooklyn at a mile and a half. Who was the favorite who ran second? Now there's a trivia question for you. A very good horse trained by a very famous trainer who's still training.
Who's still training? Wow. I'll need to, give me a minute for that. I'll try and.
It's kind of a tricky question, actually. We'll see if
try and dial
anyone
it back.
knows besides Jeff on Twitter, who knows everything. Race number 1. We'll take a look at the horse that I have second and Anthony has on top. That is Union Lights. Here she is winning. It was a muddy sealed track, but I'm not going to argue. She's making a big drop, and it's probably the drop she needs. She'll be favored. She's the one to beat.
When horses win the bottom level maiden, you try to find the bottom, or at the very least, the rule of thumb is you should find the bottom race for them. Michelle Nevin tried a couple of very ambitious spots with this horse after breaking the maiden for the bottom, and now he finds himself in for the bottom. And this is probably where he belongs. Unless you think that Muddy Track helped, but Muddy Track didn't seem to help, and the other 3 times this horse ran on wet tracks. I just think it's the class relief. He's going to be a short price to start this card. I couldn't find anything else. I landed on him. It is a process. It was a process of attrition. I could tell you that for sure.
By the way, I think I'm right about this. There's a hint about who the horse is. I believe this horse was a Breeders' Cup winner. Eventually a Breeders' Cup winner.
Eventually a Breeders' Cup winner. Okay.
I believe won a Breeders' Cup race that year over a much more famous stablemate. I hear you with Union Lights. I have no problem with that horse. It was a wet track, but I don't really care about that stuff that much. And last time out, 1.25 miles was just sort of a crazy spot for that horse. Looking through, I think one of the interesting horses here is the one Downtown Connector. And there appears to not be much speed in here, but I think sometimes the pace projector, you have to be careful with it because it's not taking into account as much as maybe it should the new running style of Downtown Connector. And it's hard to see, breaking from the rail, them not trying to be more aggressive. And the fact that there isn't any extreme speeds in this race will make it a lot easier. So I think you end up getting a situation where Downtown Connecticut's got to go again. Win, lose, or draw. I think if you're Tom Morley and Jamie Torres, you're not going to lose this race because you're raiding the rail. Now, maybe ultimately he's not fast enough to make the lead, which is fine, but I think he's going to go, and I think that injects a little more speed into the race.
And you have to take into account it's the only thing that's ever remotely worked. He was nowhere to be found in his.
You're not going to wire a field at 40-1 and come back and rate the next time out, especially breaking for the rail. I mean, he may get outrun. Patrick the Great is a faster horse, but I think you're going to see a more aggressive ride from him. And sometimes, one of the things I like about the pace projector is when things like this come up and you ask yourself, well, do I really agree with this? And there's one we'll talk about later in the card as well. You know what? Kong loves a fight. We talked about the Charlie Baker stat the other day as good numbers on trainer switches, and it blew up in our faces with a horse that was overbet. But this one I don't think is going to be super short in here. And he's no bargain, this horse, but he's not really that far away from a lot of the races that others have run in here. So I thought at a little bit of a price, I'd take him as an alternative. Not thrilled with him, but honestly, I don't want to take Union Lights. It's going to be a super short price, though I don't disagree with you. He is the horse to beat. Race number 2, we are on the grass. I think an argument maybe the rails were at 0 on both courses are going to move out to 9 and 12 feet on Thursday next week. I don't think we saw a super gold rail. The last winner was never inside the 2 path. But the horses that ran 1, 2, and the other races were on the rail. And the way the inside horse in both the 5th or the 5th and the 9th and the 8th came back, even though they looked beaten, makes me think the inside is an advantage. Now, that doesn't guarantee my horse is going to have any speed because he's not really bred to have, or she isn't much speed, but she is a full to dancing buck who's pretty good. And I have affinity for the dam. I have a picture of her in the winner's circle for some reason in my office. The connections always thought I had this big thing for her, though I did kind of like Frivolous Buck. So it's in my office at Belmont. So after a couple of turf winners are full to dancing buck. And I'll be honest with you, Anthony, what is so compelling about anybody in here? Are we so sure horses like the 4 and 6? Well, I have 2nd and 3rd. You have the 4 anywhere. I don't get that. But are that good?
No, Michelle's numbers first time out is just.
Well, that's not first time on the turf. With turf, she's 3 for 25, 411 ROI. Turf sprinters, so her numbers are fine.
She's 0 for the last year, and
I told so what? She's won with these horses, and most of them probably weren't full brothers to stake winners.
No,
full sisters to stake winners. So I think that's pretty relevant. She doesn't run a lot of horses that have enormous pedigree here. I mean, Loon Cry. The dam won on the turf, but her production has been pretty abysmal.
No, but she's a more than ready. She's a more than ready, and they gave her one shot on the dirt before putting her away for the winter. And
she's also the 5-2 morning line favorite. And yesterday, they way overbet that horse in the last race for Pletcher to even money, loser. They overbet another horse in the earlier race, loser. Taking horses with a little bit of pedigree at short prices in these races, for me, is a way I'm never going to go. I understand the 6 can win. I get it's a more than ready. I get the dam won twice in the turf. The problem is you're not getting paid. And you're banking on a horse handling the turf. I want to get paid, so I can't pick that horse on top.
Okay.
I get what you're saying in the horse's pedigree. I mean, Stolen Future didn't run very well, but did break about a length and a half slow, the number 4 Stolen Future. So I can give a little bit of excuse from there. I didn't think the horse really did a whole lot of running, but this field is probably a lot weaker in here.
I didn't think she had a ton of. I didn't see a ton of pedigree with her. I don't know what they're going to do with her.
Well, the 2nd dam was a very good turf horse, actually, and she has produced a turf winner, so she has enough pedigree. It's not very good stuff.
Thought the 7 was a little interesting. Lady Lauband, first time for George Abreu. Dan was 4 for 15. All the wins came on the grass.
Yeah, she produced a horse that won for Tony Dutrow on the turf. They ran Byers in the 70s, got a little pedigree. I agree. I have the horse 4th as well. Yeah. As far as Soretta, the horse that you have on 2nd, I mean, she ran very well, and we'll look at her race, her last turf race 2 races back.
Only turf sprint.
She should have won this race.
Yeah.
The problem is she should have won and beaten Bunty Windermere.
I agree.
And we can take a look at that, guys, from the start, please. Soretta. There's no Bunty Windermere. Well, having said that, who knows? Maybe none of these horses can run at all. So you are taking a horse that should have won the 1 turf sprint, but I don't know, man.
Along the lines of what you were saying, do we know how good the 4 and 6 really are? Maybe the 1's not ready first time out. At the very least, she has 4 turf races on her card. I thought her best race clearly was the turf sprint. She's going to be a square price because there's some pedigrees in here. There's some higher profile connections. She has a decent turf sprint on her card. She's going to be 8-9 to 1. I'm more of a multi-race player, so she's a horse that's a little juicy.
She's in the
those
middle of the
pools.
pack, just moving into the 3-path now between horses and blue.
She made up a ton of ground late
Now,
here.
well, the race was
coming
completely
apart, yeah.
collapsing at the end. But she probably should have won this race. I'm not going to argue that. If you bet her, you're sick. Having said that, that was a bad field, and it was late in
She
the
got
year.
beat by Bunty Windermere. I get it.
You know, I mean, I don't really know that she's better than my Cara Mia, mine, but of course, I have a mad love affair for my Cara Mia, mine. I left her out. She'll probably win. Race number 3 is the Gazelle, 1 1/8, and like having these 1 1/8 races so we can compare this in the wood, though they are at much different times of the day. And we'll start out with a Colt and Gambling Girl. I don't have an issue with a Colt. I put her third. I think she's the horse to beat. She hasn't run in 2.5 months, though. She's shown that she's comfortable stalking, and she does figure to stalk again in here. I'm not against her. I just didn't feel like there was anything so special about her to take her as the favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like a Colt and Shirabuti are almost the same kind of horse. If I'm going to take one of them, and I do think she's a better horse than Shirabuti, but if I was going to take one of them on top, I would have taken Shirabuti on top. Now I put a Colt second over her for third. And you say, well, if you're going to put her on top, it's a little bit different, I think, if you're picking them on top. Yeah, I'd like to know where she's been. She's gotten almost 3 months.
Well, I don't know what race she was going to run in. It's just more the timing of the races. Chad wanted to run her at 1 1/8.
Yeah.
There was no other 1 1/8 race for her. So I think if he was going to run in that race,
You think that's what it was just about? Was it just about keeping her? Because she won. I mean, the mile race was pretty. Her mile win in the maiden race was pretty good.
But knowing Chad Brown, mile, 1 1/8, cutting back to a 1 1/8, not usually what he does. Now, I don't know. I haven't asked him or talked to him. It's a valid question. I don't know. Just sort of knowing him as I do in his training style.
And he wins.
doesn't
He
surprise me.
wins so prolifically off layoffs that 3 months is not going to bother him to just keep her going to 9.
But as I will say, the one thing he said to me was, I get if you have a concern about the distance. We didn't talk, I mean, the time between races, we didn't talk about it that much, but it's funny the time between races. You talked about a heavy load with that horse that Linda's in the stake yesterday. It doesn't matter. When good trainers bring horses over on short rest, long rest, you have to trust in the trainer and not worry about it as much. She is the horse to beat in here. She has an uncoupled stablemate, though, in Sheeta Booty, who you'll see her winning the Busher Invitational. I think she's dangerous. She certainly could win. She's improved with distance. She's improving as a horse. We both picked Capella. Why did you pick her?
You know, I
don't know.
I didn't understand. I didn't understand the. I understand that there was some more pace than she was accustomed to last time, but it looked to me like there was just a decision made before they left the room that she was not going to be ridden for speed. And I think that'll be the exact opposite in here. She goes from being in a race where she probably couldn't see the lead in her dirt debut to a race where I would imagine Kendrick's going to leave that room thinking,
well, she's the fastest
boy,
horse in the
I'm the
race."
fastest horse here. And she's going to go. She has 2-turn experience over the Tapeta at Turfway Park. Both of those wins were around 2 turns. She's the inside controlling speed. And I think Kendrick's just going to put her on the engine in here. I think that experience over that muddy seal track is going to help her last time. She has a race over the course. And I think while a Colt and Shirabuti are nice fillies, I think she has a big tactical advantage. And I think in a way, she's the horse to beat.
There's also an argument that spending the entire race on the rail was not to her best advantage. I don't know that it was a total dead rail that day, but it does seem like the better running was done a little bit off the rail. So staying down the inside didn't help her. I agree with you. She's supposed to be the speed in here. She couldn't have been the speed with a horse like Asset Purchase last time. I think that was their feeling last time. But now it's just a very different scenario. You get a fast track. You got a horse that not only is the controlling speed on paper, she draws the rail, which makes a horse that's not even necessarily as fast the likely speed. So she's supposed to be in front in here. I don't disagree, and that's why I took her the speed and being inside last time as well. But I'm not against a lot of horses in here. I think Promise Her America is a little tough. I don't love Gambling Girl, but I don't know if she gets a lot more pace to run at, and I think her Honeybee was more a case of the race falling apart late for getting 4th. But I don't think she's terrible. She seems to be improving, and it's Todd Pletcher. But I think the horse that interests me is Frosty O'Toole, who, unlike that mystifying Private Purchase by Eclipse Thoroughbreds yesterday, this Private Purchase I get.
She only got beat 14 lengths.
If they paid, and I know what they paid for that other horse, they probably should have paid about $10 million for this horse because she's that much better. The other one, I thought this last race was legitimately good.
A nice effort.
I don't know why this horse can't win. This horse to me is very interesting, and I'm going to absolutely use her.
Yeah, she's been good. Her last, and you know, the first dirt race was a nice improvement from the turf and the poly effort at Gulfstream. She took an even bigger jump last time out. That was a nice effort.
No, she ran well last time. I think she's an interesting horse.
She's run the fastest race. She's the fastest Biofig in the race.
And you know, the 3-year-old filly division continues to be a bit of an eyesore. And the Ashland, who we thought could answer some questions, it didn't answer any. The winner was a Defining Purpose. It paid an 83 buyer. I know people complained about the tepid ride on the favorite, but I thought she had a chance to get out in the stretch. And probably Julia Shining ran the best race of anybody, but I'm getting a little tired, and I know I'm going to lose money on her in the Oaks again, but I'm getting a little tired of her running the best race and losing.
And not winning.
So that's becoming problematic.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the race got an 83 buyer, so Wet Paint she's almost a cinch to be favored. And I was asking on Twitter last night, this race in the Kentucky Oaks, the Santa Anita Oaks, one or both get better figures than the Gazelle and the Oaks, get better figures than the 83 buyer, and the majority of people said better figure on both of them. And I can't disagree. I'm hoping that we see some interesting horses. I know that horse for Whitey out west ran very fast in her maiden race, and she has a funny name. Race number 4, we'll take a look at Let It Ride. About time somebody named a horse Let It Ride. It's hard. Somebody probably reserved this name and never used it or something. So people are waiting to use it because it seems like it would be a name that people were looking to use. I tell you what, if you bet this horse at 6-9 to 1 first time and you lost, you're still throwing up somewhere. This horse, I mean,
how did this horse get beat?
He runs back to this race. It's another Mott first-time starter. I mean, it's unbelievable, right? You got the Mott first-time starter beat this horse. You got that Mott first-time starter at 23 to 1 that beat Dreamlike last time out. Arthur's Ride, who had some tough luck losing in Saratoga, won Stinson Coffee, beat him the other time. There's a lot of Mott firsters popping up. It's kind of unusual. Mott is having a terrific year, on the backs of a great year last year as well. And
it's very rare when there's a 4 to 5 shot on the morning line that you and I both pick on top. That does not happen often in a maiden race, nonetheless.
And I'm disappointed in Treaty Obligation. Yeah, the wet track probably hurt him a little bit. You like Victory way more than I do, but I don't know about him. I'll tell you the truth. I considered, if I was going to be a wise guy, putting American Hustle on top.
Okay.
Because he ran a 71 buyer a long time ago, and he could improve the high 70s. I also thought he ran okay. He was down the rail a lot that race. The rail was not the place to be. He didn't end up on the rail, but he spent a lot of the race on the rail. And I thought he was a little interesting. I thought his dirt race was better than his turf races. So I thought he was a little bit dangerous. I've had enough of the 3. There must be a tip on the 5. Because I saw about 800 people picking the 5. I mean, it's more of a turf pedigree, to be honest.
Yeah. Dan was 0 for 15. Dan was 0 for 15. Not much. I mean,
I've seen a bunch of people picking this horse. I'm wondering if there's a story.
Well, there was. I mean, the work tab at Palm Meadows is sporadic. You see a January 5th bullet, then they'll work for 6-7 weeks, and then.
I think he outworked Flightline on March 3rd. I think that must be why the story is on him. Anyhow, we'll see what happens, but I'm with you and Let It Ride.
Flightline was out of training for 5 months, but he probably still couldn't have outworked Flightline on March.
Flightline probably outwork horses in 2 years. 2 years if he's gotten fat like me. Race number 5. We'll take a break after race number 5.
Bonus mandatory payout in this pick 5, by the way, folks. Starts here.
There's not a lot to show in the actual replay, but I'll show you some of utilization rates. First race at Gulfstream. And I have a strong opinion on this horse. I think this horse actually is good. This was a loaded field. There was huge pedigrees. The winner, was Clement horse, has a giant pedigree. And it was as merry-go-round race as you'll find. They were crawling up front. And I think this is one of the few horses that switched any position, moving from 5th to 4th. And I actually think the utilization rate ran extremely well in here. Now, I understand it's a Chad Brown entry that's going to be a super short price. And there are a sea of unknowns in this race. But I think utilization rate's a pretty good horse, and I believe you're going to see it today.
Okay.
That's my story. I'm sticking with it. You have the.
I took one swing against the entry with Undoubtedly. Bill Mott firster, 1 for 18. Why didn't I write this down?
I don't know why'd you pick the horse.
I forgot to write the First time grass, speed from the outside. I didn't see a lot of speed in this race. I was just hoping that Trevor would put the source on the front end today.
He's the speed.
Series of mile races under a belt, just get in front of the entry. I'm going to use 1s and 8s, and this is an important race involved in 2 pick 4s, 2 pick 5s. I'll use 1s and 8s and just hope that undoubtedly gets in front of them and keeps going.
She's the speed. She's been a massive failure at short prices in her career. And
money
she's
in all of her starts.
Huge disappointment as a horse, and I'm just not really sure she's much horse. As far as the pedigree, the dam was 0 for 2 in the turf. The second dam was a very good turf horse, though. So, I mean, I should say very good. She was talented. She ran a 91, ran like a 98 buyer. She only won $90,000. But the thing about this horse, she's a half to fearless.
Right, that's what it was.
And the 2 foals that ran the turf did not win. So it's a tepid turf pedigree, and they're really taking a horse that's just been a big disappointment.
How about
running on a
Judmont
turf at a
Purchase here, Andy?
Yeah, it's
right?
had a well, I'm not sure the NY Not goes back. A lot of those those horses go back to Courtly D, but I'm not sure if this one does. I remember one. I was a Mike Matt's horse, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Matz, excuse me. I don't know. I've got the horse second because she's speed, but she is a bit of a phony. I mean, Biloxi Blues. There's a little bit of turf in there. Now she goes back to Courtly D. She's in that Aurora family and those horses, so she's the one that goes back to Courtly D. Even Bollinger has some pedigree, but the good turf horse in the dam was a Bernardini. So I guess a Practical Joke could win in the turf as well. So there's some pedigrees there. I don't know. There was nothing that thrilled me a great deal. We'll take a break. We'll be back with the rest of the card, including the late pick 5 and the Wood Memorial.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. Thanks to our friends at Saratoga Springwater for their support, as well as we continue on with today's card. And the Bayshore, the Grade 3, kicks off race 6. And I wonder if this will get a better fig than the 84 that Corona Bolt got in the Lafayette, a similar stake run at Keeneland yesterday. I think that's sort of an interesting question with Joey Freshwater going in here, the number 5, a horse that I have third and you have second. He runs back to his last race. He's going to be pretty tough in here.
Took on older horses here, Andy. Majority Partner came back and, he had run well to...
He has not run back.
No, he ran back. He had run well prior to this against Register, I guess it was.
No, Register was a maiden.
Say again?
Register was a maiden.
The Mott horse that ran the other day. I'm forgetting the
anyway,
name.
he really did run well in here. The winner ran an unbelievable race, and the winner was the best horse, and there was a lot of pace in the race, and it set up well for him. But still, taking on older horses, he ran a big race, and it became very tough in here. But I do think there's a reasonable question about him. And the question to me is Lasix.
The Lasix. Yeah.
He put on Lasix last time, and he ran his best race. Now, that's not to say he's not in the ballpark without it, but he did run a lot better with Lasix last time, and that concerns me a little bit. I still think he's kind of the horse to beat in this race, especially because I have a very different opinion than you do in this race. As we go to Victory Way, who you have on top, I'll let you talk about him. I don't like this horse at all.
Yeah, I had a big push on this horse. I was told this horse has a ton of talent. I don't know if the rail in the mud helped him last time. I think now with a mid-pack draw on a fast track,
We had a perfect trip.
I don't know if he really loved everything that he was dealt last time. The rail in the mud.
But you're taking a 5-2 off a maiden win and saying, I don't think he loved the track in a race that he won. And I think if you take that, adopt that principle in life as a handicapper, you're going to lose 4 times the takeout. Now, Bill Mott's horses, and I thought this was very important, off of a maiden win, coming back in their second start, they're 1 for 14. And it's an interesting 1 for 14 because 7 of the 14 horses were very short prices. So you've seen a whole slew of horses that looked really good in their maiden races that came back and didn't run close to those numbers. And the problem for him is he needs to improve. Now, you can hope it was wet track, you can hope a lot of things, but he needs to improve off that
course.
race a month ago. And, you know, I'm going to compare him to another horse in this race, Expected Value. And it's a pretty funny name considering the situation, because I don't love Expected Value in here. But from a value standpoint, you're taking a horse that ran a 72 buyer in September that's coming back 7 months later and asking him to improve 5 points on a horse that ran a 76 buyer. And it's not all about buyer figs. I get that. But still, it matters. They're speed figures. You're asking this horse to only have to improve 2 lengths in that period of time when the sort of normal improvement is probably 5 times that, or 3 times that, 2 lengths, I'm saying, and you're going to get a considerably better price. So the expected value of betting a horse like Expected Value versus betting a Victory Way, to me, is extreme. So for me, I could never bet Victory Way because there's nothing going for him. And I don't understand why he's supposed to be a short price anyway off a debut win with a 76
I
buyer.
don't know how that. You see, I don't know if I necessarily agree with David in here.
Well, David was going to think you'd make him the favorite, so you really disagree with him, and not going to disagree with David. Because he's right and I'm wrong about
I
everything.
think Gilmore will be short in here.
Well, be that as it may, you know, David Edwards, you and I were wondering if he'd be the favorite the other day. There was a bigger favorite than even he thought he would be in Total Impact. So I'm going to stick with him, and I'm going to be surprised if Victory Way wins here. Maybe he really improves in a dry track. It's certainly possible, but I think he rates to be a massive underlay in here. And I'll tell you something else. Say about Gilmore. Well, I think Gilmore should be a shorter price. Now, I don't think he will be, but I think he should be. I don't know. I know they put him in some synthetic races going long, but you go back to his maiden win. I know it was LaSalle, but that was a legit field. You looked at that field. Horses came back. We'll take a look at Gilmore breaking his maiden at LaSalle. That was a legit race. You look at those horses. You look at his first race. Those were legitimate race horses as well. I think the concern with him is if you're one of these people that says, I don't want these Bob Baffert horses. They went to Tim Octane. They didn't run as well. And maybe there's some validity to that. I'm a pretty big fan of Brendan Walsh. And I didn't think he ran any worse than the Battaglia than the El Camino Real. It just happened to be a much tougher race. I like him cutting back. I think he's a dirt horse, and I love the cut back to 7. I think Gilmore fits like a glove in this race.
Okay.
But we'll see what happens with him.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily know what to do with him. I don't know if he was better with this extra distance. He was 1-5 when he broke his maiden.
Okay.
Then they tried him on the 2 poly tries make no sense. They made no sense to me.
Well, they were thinking about seeing his Derby horse, and they didn't want to think he was good enough to run the dirt races going along. We'll take a look at Prove Right, because Prove Right's last race was gigantic. But once again,
Also
much
on
like
Lasix.
Joey Freshwater, right, this horse was first-time Lasix and is now off Lasix. He's not untalented, though. He has run well at times. The problem is his big efforts are sporadic. But he is the controlling speed in this race, and I don't think he should be completely ignored. I thought this was an interesting race. I think there's a whole lot of horses that can win this race. Arabato's a little tough to make. Even Daydreaming Boy's last race was good enough to give him a chance.
Yeah,
He beat two Jamie Ness horses.
Not one,
Not
but
too many
2.
horses can do that.
No.
So I thought it was a very interesting Bayshore. We move on to race number 7. I wanted to show you the horses that might be favored in race number 7. They are the first and second choice. The line in New Guinea and Waterville. I'm going to tell you something, and it's obviously they're both non-winners of 1, so the answer is obviously 0 in here. But in their last combined 10 races, they have 5 seconds and 4 thirds. Now, if they get in a stretch duel, I don't know which one is going to win because neither one of them obviously wants to win. I can't take these
When the
horses
picks got
short
posted,
prices.
how stunned were you that I didn't pick either one?
No, you picked David Donk in all these races. I was sure you picked Lady Gaga. There was no chance you would pick those. That was a complete gimme.
It was just, I mean, it's just so hard to pick one of the 2 Clement horses.
Well, they may be the best horses in the race, so I'm not going to be surprised if they win.
But neither of them have any real kind of speed to get them in any position early.
Well, I don't agree with that. Waterville's supposed to be in front, frankly. I mean, I know Christophe is allergic to the lead. I'm sorry. Who are the bullets in here? You found there's some bullet entered that I didn't know?
I would
Is Prove Right running in this race?
I would imagine.
Okay. Waterville can have the lead if she wants it. She's inside of any other speeds, and she's every bit as fast as anybody in here. Now, they may not go, but Trevor's a guy that likes to go. And tell you something, Christophe, this horse likes to hang. Why don't you put her on the lead? And it's only going to help New Guinea if you go. It's not going to hurt her. And certainly going to, I'll put it this way. You can compromise both your horses or potentially do something that helps both of them. by going with her. You've got one in front and one who's sitting back. Now listen,
So
maybe
I thought the 4 was the speed. I thought Eau Claire would be the speed.
she doesn't have any real speed, but maybe she
I
goes
thought the
faster.
4 would be the speed, and I thought Lady Jasmine would. I thought Collaboration would be forward. I thought Lady Jasmine would be forward in here. I even thought the horse you put on top, Sweetest Princess, would be forward coming out of the dirt
Manus Folly
races.
could be in front if they want to be aggressive. I mean, if somebody wants to be aggressive, they can get the lead here. But based on how fast they are, if Waterville wants to be forward, she can be forward. They just have to decide how to ride them. Talk about Lady Jasmine.
Yeah, I thought Lady Jasmine ran okay in her debut. Kind of set a perfect chip off the speed and got the job done. And then when she came back in the PG Johnson, I know it looks like she was just overmatched, but she took enough money in there. She just didn't run. And then
She was overmatched.
I don't.
Doesn't it look like she was
see,
overmatched?
I don't.
She actually was.
I don't agree with that.
Why? She ran the same race she ran the first
because
time.
she missed 3 months, and I don't think that was done by design. I'm sure she
She
missed
ran the
3
same
months
race she
and
ran
she
first
was
time
gone.
from a figure standpoint.
Yeah, she didn't show any, but I don't think she showed any. She didn't show any improvement. I thought she ran well enough first time out where you can see some improvement. I imagine she didn't miss the last 3 months of the turf season by design, and now she's back. I think she's in a spot where, again, I think she can sit a good trip being forward under Jose Ortiz. She gets Lasix for the first time. She's going to be a square price in a race with it. It is filled with horses that have disappointed multiple times already. I'll take her.
Yeah, I've got her second. I want the newly turned 3-year-olds, even though they'll have to improve, but I think they can improve. But I think the difference between her and Sweetest Princess, who I took, is that we know that Sweetest Princess has improved. And we'll look at her finishing behind Collaboration, and I'll show you a negative stat on Collaboration, who is 8-1, so I shouldn't put up negative stats, though I don't know if she'll be that big a price. We'll see. We could show that video of the stretch run where Collaboration got a dream clear run. Now it was very interesting that Irad really took her back last time, as opposed to being in the lead in a slow pace the first time. He took her back at a faster pace. She really ran well in here, but Sweetest Prince got herself in trouble in a couple of spots here, and she wasn't going to win, but she could have been closer than the few lengths that she got beaten. The difference I feel with Sweetest Princess is we've seen her improve as a racehorse over the winter. She's actually run better in her races. I think she's an improved racehorse, though I didn't particularly like her last race. But I think she may be a better horse now and a more mature horse, and we know she's gotten better. And so I'm going to take her getting back to the surface that I do believe is her preferred surface. You know, I show this stat for Linda. I never occurred to me Collaboration would be 8-1, though I guess I should have looked at the figs, though I thought maybe of all the ones she'd be a slightly shorter price. I mean, she's a big price if you like her, but Linda's horses often seem to need races coming off these kind of layoffs. But I went to 3-year-olds. I just went to a different one than you did. I'm not going to be surprised if the 1 or 3 win. Listen, Eau Claire, has she improved a little bit down at Tampa? Maybe. The problem is she was terrible in the races that she ran in New York. So does she improve outside of New York, and can she bring that improvement here? And I'm a little biased against her. I had better that day at Belmont on June 4th, where she had everything to go her own way, and she still lost the race.
Made a few dollars last year betting the sprinters with some recency in the turf races. I don't know if it's going to repeat this year. I don't know if it helps with the horses that are going long, but she's won twice in the last 3 months. But
it was a maiden 25.
Yeah, I know.
And an allowance trip. Race number 8, the Grade 1 Carter, obviously a big hit when White Abario came out. Good move not running get her number in this race to Grade 1. She could have been 8-5. He could have been 8-5. It was a good call. Why would you want to win Grade 1 when you can win Grade 3 at Keeneland? Race number, so we'll start out with Repo Rocks. And listen, obviously this is a very different Repo Rocks than the one we saw earlier in his career. He is a horse that at times showed those flashes, and the trainers like Jamie Ness find those flashes on a more consistent basis, though the 111 seems to have been an aberration. He's the horse to beat. I wonder how long he's going to continue with his newfound glory.
Well, it's lasted almost 6 months.
Well,
And I think,
his last 2 are the really big races.
Yeah, well,
And Miles D came back and ran
not
5
from,
buyer
not,
points
from a
worse.
not from a buyer point of view, Andy. They're all the same except the 111. 96, 97, 97.
The 111 is going to win this race. The other figures, not so clear.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I think, and you know what's weird about the spacing has seemed to help. Now, he did come back in that 24 days, and that's when he popped. But then he gave him, now he's given him the most time between the races.
Because this was the time between the 2 races.
Yeah, no, well, yeah.
No, it's a good thing he didn't run against Little Vic last time out, because he probably would have lost to Little Vic if he came back last time, as we take a look at his race. And maybe it was a slop, maybe it was the Muddy Seal track. But I'm going to tell you something. This horse ran last time.
He did.
I mean, he was on top of the quick pace. The pace completely incinerated. It was two fast horses. Everybody else was making up ground, and he was running away from them. He ran a huge figure. Yeah, I don't know where it came from. And obviously the Muddy Seal track is the likeliest place it came from. But sometimes these horses come back and win, and I'm not sure. I guess he is going to be a solid second choice in this race, and he should be off this race. But I'm not sure, because I think a lot of people are going to go to your horse, a horse that you like that I don't like at all.
Yeah, I'm going to try and wire the field with Today's Flavor, who is just, he's loose. And I know Little Vic has been fast in the past. And
They'd be crazy not to go to Little Vic. They'd be crazy not to be aggressive.
But it's been successful not going.
Well, I don't know about that. He went pretty fast last time. He just happened to be sitting behind two horses that are extraordinarily fast.
Right,
if he goes as quickly as he did last time, then he's going to be right off with Today's Flavor. The problem, we'll take a look at Today's Flavor. The problem with Today's Flavor is he's going to be like 5-2 or 3-1 in this race.
You really think he'll be that short?
Oh, 100%. Everybody loves
You don't
this
think
horse.
Rebel Rock's going to be 3-5?
No, he won't be 3-1.
Really?
I think this horse will be a very short price. I'd be surprised if he's more than 3-1. Well, I mean, Dave was going to make him 7-2 or 4-1 without White Abarrio in the race, so I don't think I'm saying anything that's particularly not there already. He has had a huge Gold Rail last time out, Good Rail the time before that. He is so completely dressed up. He probably is the speed here. You should also ask yourself another question. He's not running with Lasix for the first time as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a question, but they all have to, you know, Rebel Rocks has answered that question a couple of times, so has Little Vic. He'll have to answer it today, and I'm obviously hoping that the answer is he can do it. I'll find out. Maybe you're right. Maybe he's 4-1 now. You think he's going to be short of that?
It's a 6-horse field. I'd be very surprised with this horse. This horse, I understand the argument for him. I don't agree with the argument for him, but I think the argument for him, because people love ones, they love blowout wins. He's got a faster buyer figure than Repo Rocks does last time out. So, and basically the same time for him US figure. So, I don't know. I think people are going to really go in for this horse thinking he's the controlling speed, which he may be. He's got to get 7 against much better horses. And I'm going to tell you something. You want to take a horse. I understand that Bold Journey, who I picked in here, is a 1-number horse. I totally get that, okay? Having said that, we'll take a look at his last race. He's not a 1-number horse that's going to be a short. Everything all right with Bold Journey's race, guys? Somebody? He's not a 1-number horse that's going to be a short price off 1 number. He's not going to be 12-1 because there's a massive scratch, but he's still going to be every bit of 6 to 8 to 1 in here, probably more towards the higher end. He runs this race, he has a giant chance to win this race. Now, it is a fair question to say, where the heck did it come from? But I don't know. This horse has shown real potential last year. Maybe he's fine. I mean, this horse is running mid-80 buyers early in his 3-year-old year without Lasix, by the way. And maybe he just finally is getting his act together at the right time for the right barn. I mean, I may be making the most impressive 1-2 big race picks since I picked Cool Brew Red Hot in the King's Bishop and Raison Gatot, also Bill Mott, in the Travers, and they both finished last. But I'm going to take a shot with this horse. I have to bet this horse. I'm committed. You obviously don't like him. I tell you what, he'll beat Express Man.
You're committed, all right.
There's the chances that he hasn't beat Express Man, as long as he completes the race with his jockey, are 0. That I'm confident of. Now maybe they'll be 5th and 6th. Maybe Doppelganger will pick them up, but he'll beat Express Man. See what happens in the Carter. Race number 9. We are back on the turf. There's a 2-prong Chad Brown thing, and Chad Brown's got to start winning some turf races. He didn't win one on the first day of the turf racing. I'm surprised. I hope he slept okay. We'll start with Veronica Green, and she's the horse to beat. I'm not going to argue it. I picked her 3rd, but she does come out of a pretty good race in her last start, doesn't she?
Yeah, you know, I scratch my head sometimes, and we'll get to it in a minute. Yeah, I mean, I think these fillies are okay. That she ran against in the Winter Memories, right? I mean, she made what I thought was a winning move. Yeah, she did have a good trip, and she probably should. And off of that, she probably should have got the job done. But I mean, the 2 fillies that beat her, they're real fillies.
Well, horse to finish second's okay. I wouldn't get
All
that.
right, so the winner was a real filly. And you
Well,
could-
she went out west and maybe got a silly ride, but she totally blew up in the American Oaks.
she got a silly ride.
I don't disagree. I don't know why she went to the front in there either.
Yeah, she got a silly ride.
I'm not wildly against her at all. I'm not against her at all. In fact, I just feel like the Chads are going to take a lot of money and maybe Expand the Map will finally get her act together and be the horse they once hoped she would be. She was 1-2 against Pizza Bianca in her debut. She broke her maiden a year and a half later, almost to the day.
Amazing,
at
isn't it?
Gulfstream. It's a tough game. And this was a horse they absolutely loved as a 2-year-old, but maybe she'll get her act together. And you see, here's one where the pace projector, I was going to point out, the pace projector situation. The pace projector has her the controlling speed.
Expand the Map. Isn't Yo Cuz supposed to be 3 in front here?
I mean, unless she falls down coming out of the gate, and I know she's a bit of a gate horse. I mean, she'll be in front. I mean, obviously, Bilmont's getting desperate, and they're just, putting her in a race to see if she can wake up on the turf. Because I've never, as you know, I've never liked this horse.
Right.
But she's obviously better than she'll be running this year. Now, she's a loud man. There's not a lot of pedigree there, but
At the very least, she's supposed to be in front for the first half mile of this race.
she's supposed to be in front. If she's going to win this race, she's going to do it in front. Dan was 0-1 on the turf. She produced a horse to try the turf. It's 0-1. But if you're somebody that likes to go back 437 generations, her third dam is Wonder again. So there is turf if you go back not that long, but for what it's worth. I'm going to take Candle in here.
My great-grandfather was 155 pounds.
Yeah, but it's only third. It is Wonder again. I mean, listen, some people are going to say if she wins, someone's going to say it. So we might as well say it here. I'm not, obviously, I don't care. So, but this is Candle's win over Sweet Lou's got aces, who blew up down in Florida in a fast-paced race, and then they rated the horse. That was a clever move. Next time, Ray. That was very smart. Don't give me the 12 post. They crawled. You should have just gone. I understand this is a sprint, and this horse has to get longer, and that's a question. But I didn't think this horse got the best of trips last time. Probably moved a little prematurely. Why without cover the whole way in that race? Probably tired a little bit trying to go the distance. This is a horse that's going to have some upside that maybe the others don't have. And I thought she was a little bit interesting and maybe would be just a slightly better price.
But let me ask you a question. And I agree with you. This horse did not have the best trip last time. Don't you have to start worrying, though, that this horse does not want anything to do with distance?
Maybe it was the last 70 yards that got to her. Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah, no.
I mean, this horse's sprint last year, and again, you and I talked about this.
I don't.
The sprint, the 2-year-old
absolutely.
turf figures, whatever the distance is, you have to take them with a little grain of salt.
Shug probably feels the same way, and Shug's probably thinking if she can't get the trip here, then I'll
You
cut her back next time.
right? You give her one more
But there
chance
may not have
going
been a race
along.
coming up.
There probably isn't a race
We're
going
finding
on.
out from Ray Handel why they rated that horse last time. He says there was a very stupid move on my part. I told Javier to rate him. Ray, I appreciate you as a man taking responsibility for your bad call. That might or might not be what Ray said to me. I could be lying. I'm not going to tell you.
And she ran against nice fillies in her first 2 races going long.
Yeah, no,
Zara
but
and Be
yeah,
Your
that's the
Best.
thing. Right. She set the pace in that Be Your Best race that completely incinerated.
She ran against real- she ran against
and then
stakes
she was
fillies.
running against killers in her
I
next
understand.
start.
That's
so
fine.
It's fair, but no. But you're absolutely right that the distance is the question. There's no question about it.
And look, I put her second, and like you said, this will probably be the day Expand the Map wins by 11.5 lengths.
No, I don't think she's ever win by 11.5 lengths. That was newspaper record.
It'll happen. It'll happen one day. We've wasted enough money on it. It'll
Race
happen.
number 10
It'll
is a
happen.
maiden race. I thought race number 10 was a really fun maiden. A lot of people say, why is there a turf sprint before the Wood? I don't know. I thought it came up a super fun race. So you don't fall for Rudy to Mike Maker with Red Hot Chick on a horse that ran third last time? I thought this horse was kind of the horse to beat in here, Red Hot Chick.
I got a 4th, right?
I don't know. I thought she ran okay in there. She actually broke well. They took her back. I think got a very good ride by Pratt, making a run at the end. I don't know how good the race was, but I thought she was super dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a chance. Look, this is an absolute spread race for me. There's a lot of royalty in here. Strictly Taboo's a half to Rosa Faloche. Snowy Evening's a half to for our friend Steve Chris, my boy Tate.
Right, but
and
Philly Evening's already,
is
you're
a half
naming
to
one dirt
Brunate.
horse. You're not naming one dirt horse
I know.
after another.
I know, that's why
the
I
horse
said
who's
that.
got a lot of pedigree for turf is the Ray Handel horse who did no running first time out. I lied. Ray wanted to go to the lead, or so he's saying. According to him, he wanted to go to the lead. I actually believe him. I looked at I Admire the Crown. The horse had got a ridiculous trip first time out. I just don't know if the horse can run.
Mm-hmm.
So, Charisse, go ahead.
Yeah, I was talking to Mark Hennig,
another
clock stand one morning, and he just said, yeah, first time. I didn't think this horse ran that terribly in the slop. Didn't look like she handled the slop. Thought she did a smidge of running late, and she just basically said, yeah, and she needed a race. Wanted to get her a race before the grass, and here it is. So she's going to be a big price. Took a shot in a race where I thought there were a bunch of question marks, a bunch of horses that had run on a turf. They ran okay, I thought. So I took a little stab with a horse that's going to be a big price in a race where, like I said, I'm going to play a late pick 5. I'm going to use the 3, the 5, the 7, the 8, the 11, maybe even use a little 10. I want to use 5 or 6 horses in here. I thought this race was wide open, so I'll take a horse that's going to be a price.
The dam of Charisse was a multiple winner. She ran 19 times in the turf with 4 wins, 3 seconds, and 3 thirds. She won $340,000. Now, I'm not sure how much the street sense is going to give her a ton of turf pedigree. There's a half to 1 horse that tried the turf. She's a second foal that ran 70. She didn't win, but she ran 70s buyers. But I have Charisse third, and she does have a pedigree to move up. Listen, I could have got the 4 in there. The 4 ran very well at a fast pace last time, but she seemed to have been better going longer than shorter. Strictly Taboo, I think, is dangerous, but it's not really a turf pedigree, even though it's in the stern, so you get it there. I thought this horse was terrible first time out. Absolutely awful first
no
time
money.
out. But it is, these are New York breds, and that was down in Florida. I'm going to take Galatrona, who took real money to be 6-1 first time out. You're not seeing Jimmy Bond, these homebreds, be in short prices like this. And there is pedigree. There's after horse to 3 turf winners, to Get Stormy. The winner came back and won a stake, improved the Beyer point 7 points. I feel like this is a horse that was very green in that race that could really run a lot better. So I'm taking a little shot with Galatrona here in a wide open race. We'll see what happens in race.
It definitely is kind of.
The Wood Memorial, race number 11, the last race of the day. And we'll start with Hit Show and Arctic Arrogance and General Banker and the Withers. He's the one to beat. But the question is how you feel about him handling the outside post.
Yeah,
And how good do you think he is?
I think that's the biggest question. You want to know what, Andy? It might be his only question today. I don't think there's a more talented horse going into the starting gate of the Wood Memorial today than him. But
The one's pretty good.
yeah, I don't disagree with that. But to date, right now, from what we've seen, I think he's the most accomplished and probably the most talented. Maybe Dreamlike shows me wrong today, and I think if anybody shows me wrong today, it could be him.
Well, you've got him third.
I do, but because I think that he still has to prove that, and I think a few things have to go right for him.
We'll
today.
get to him in a
We'll
minute.
get to him.
The positive for Hit Show.
He just has to. He's got to go. He's got to be 5 wide on a first turn, or he's got to be 8 lengths off the lead. There's no middle ground there for him. So he's got to. He's damned if he does, or he's damned if he don't. He's got to deal with one of those 2 things. There's no way around it.
Well, I don't know if he's going to be 5 wide in the first turn. We'll see where he is, and we'll see where he is relative to some others. But obviously, it's a handicap, and it's a bit of a hindrance. I think the interesting thing about him is he improved 11 points from his first to his second start from Beyer scale. He improved 11 from his second to his third. He improved 9 from his third to his fourth. Now, it's hard to believe he's going to improve another 9 or 10 or 11, but if he does, it puts him in the 100 range, which means he's going to probably win this race and overcome the post. I do think it's interesting, though, how this horse just keeps progressing along. I don't know. I have mixed feelings. He had an absolute dream trip in a small field in the Withers, but he ran. He really did run. And he's obviously a horse they've always liked, and he's starting to come to terms for a guy who just wins, Brad Cox. But
They just win.
I don't love this post at a short price. I think you're sort of supposed to take a shot with somebody against and find out who it is. Now, Dreamlike is on the Beyer scale the logical horse. He has gotten very unlucky to run into 2 real Mott killers in his first 2 starts. This horse to beat him was like 23-1. I don't like that Dreamlike was 1-5, had the race won and hung. I don't like it. But he was wide on both turns. He was 4 wide in the first turn, 3 wide in the second turn. So it's not like he had the easiest of easy trips. The winner was on the rail. I don't like he's giving it up at the end, but he's run fast races in both his races. And unlike the Hit Show, he draws the rail. So, I mean, if you put him in post 12 with his 13 and Hit Show on the rail, Hit Show would be 6-5 in the morning
Even
line,
money.
and he would be 6 or 8-1.
No question about it.
So it's really a big gap. And there's a chance on speed figures that he's the best horse in the race.
And I think, but from a gambling point of view, I couldn't agree more with what you said. From a gambling point of view, Is that part of the reason he's going to take that much more money than Hit Show?
But is he really a bad bet at a bigger price than Hit Show? Because he's running speed figures as fast as Hit Show, and he's only run twice. And Brad Cox is good. So's that Todd Pletcher guy.
He's great, but is he really? Is it a point and a half? Is their talent right now a point and a half? I don't know.
Well, the
I don't know
post is very, very big.
And you know, not for nothing, those blinkers, which are supposed to help, they could backfire.
Well, I don't worry about blinkers, but one way or the other, they don't. You know, I do think there's enough horses that are forward in here that they're supposed to be moving along in this race. And we'll take a look at your top pick, Slip Mahoney, when he broke his maiden against Croupi, and I'll let you talk about it.
I think Slip Mahoney, I think his Gotham is in a weird way was the best thing that could have happened to him.
So terribly?
Here he is. I don't think he ran terribly at all. See, I think he got a big education in there, and I know his fig came back slow, but I think he got a big education in there.
But
I think his last 3 races have been education. Here he is winning a slugfest with Croupi
on a gold rail.
Okay, that's all well and good.
Well,
the
it's a
time
fact.
before, he lost the slugfest to Tapit Trice. So he got himself educated in a couple of stretch duels in the 2 prior starts. Last time, in one of the weirdest run races I've ever witnessed, he gets...
Why was it weird run? It was a fast-paced race.
It was just a weird, strange race. There were a lot of middle moves, and that horse opened up a big lead. And
They weren't. No,
he's
it was a fast
last
pace.
early.
It's fast-paced, and the horses that were forward have come back and run well, but not the horses that were back.
After being on top of 2 paces, he's last early, loses all position early. He's wide off the turn, and yeah, horses were coming back to him. I'm not saying that's fine, but at the very least, he passed a lot of horses.
Because it was a fast pace, it was collapsing.
But he did some things he didn't have to do in his 2 prior starts. So I think he got education after education after education. Now, he gets reunited with Dylan Davis. In all likelihood, he's going to be sitting 2-3 lengths off of a pace more comparable to what he's doing.
He's sitting 2-3 lengths off this pace. Because I think they're going to be moving.
Oh, I don't think they're going to be
Here's
moving.
a problem.
Well,
they came home in
where are they going to be moving?
Hang on, they came home in 52 3/5 the mile, and he gained 3.5 lengths.
They were over a sludgy, muddy, sealed track. Now he gets back to a fast track. His best race
is on a wet track.
His best race was 2 back.
No, his best race is 3 back. He rode a gold rail and got the same figure. But you told me you lost to Tapit Trice, so that wasn't a good race.
But
so it was better when he beat
To me, it's
Croupi
been
by a
more
head.
about his education in the last 3 races. I think he gets the right trip today. I like him a lot in here. Listen,
I'm sure
if Hit Show was the 7, I would have picked the race 7-5. But I think under the circumstances, and he's going to be a better price than he should be because Dreamlike.
Slip Mahoney?
Yeah.
What price is he supposed to be in here? 2 to 1? He's 6 to 1 morning line.
He's supposed to be 4 to 1. He's going to be 8 to 1.
He's supposed to be 4 to 1 in here?
I think so.
Well, okay. Well, we'll just have to agree to disagree about that. Frankly, I'm not sure Croupi isn't a better bet than he is. Croupi also on a good rail, though angling out in the stretch, but also took advantage of the rail when he lost by a head to him. And Croupi's start, if you haven't watched the Risen Star and watched the start of it, for those of you that think Zenyatta had issues at the beginning of the Breeders' Cup, you need to watch what it really means to have issues, because this is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. I mean, this horse, he was like, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if he had a friend in the grandstand. I don't know what the heck he was doing. And I know it was a fast-paced race that fell apart, and I know he closed to the end, and he likes to gallop out past horses. But maybe it's possible that one day he actually figures out he's supposed to be a racehorse. And I'll say one thing, the best he ever broke was the day Kendrick rode him. The best he ever broke was the one day that Kendrick rode him. And I don't love Croupi here, but to me, if you're thinking of taking Slip Mahoney here at least half the price, you're supposed to be looking at Croupi. So, and for me, I'd rather take Croupi as Slip Mahoney because something went badly wrong with him last time. He's never done what he did. Was it the lights? Was it racing at night? I don't know. That was weird. Having said that, I think that Todd Pletcher's other horse in the race, Classic Catch, might be the most dangerous of all the top horses in here. You have him, I have him 4th. You don't have him anywhere in here. So his last race, I don't know. I thought the horses are okay that he ran against in those races. Second horses run better races since then. I think this horse might be kind of the right horse at the right time. I don't think he's impossible here, but he doesn't have a good post either.
No.
But he's supposed to just
Not
drop
a good
back to the
post.
middle, and he's supposed to be like a Bourbonic.
Bourbonic, yeah. Both wins have come at 9 furlongs in his career. One of them's here at Aqueduct when he broke his maiden. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to make a big case against him.
So Shadow Dragon. my top pick here, my Raison d'Etat selection in this race. And I don't think it's funny seeing Army Mule is turning into the next Speightstown. He's a frenzy fighter, and this horse is, I mean, you say, well, I think Army Mule's won a sprint. This horse seems to be very effective going longer, and he's certainly got a lot of pedigree to go longer on the dam side.
Sure.
You know,
Jimmy Tonin in there?
I don't love this horse.
Dam was Jimmy Tonin,
yes.
right?
I don't love this horse by any stretch. It would be silly to say that I love this horse. But this horse's race 2 back was okay. I know Rocky Can didn't run great down in Arkansas, but ran a figure 92 the next time and ran high 80s last time. And there is a very good argument David Aragona was making to me initially, and I agree with him, that the rail was dead on Fountain of Youth Day. And this horse basically spent the entire race until the very late stages down on the rail. And he still ran a 75 buyer on a dead rail in that race. I think this horse is very capable of running a buyer in the mid to high 80s. Well, you're trying to make a case for a horse Flip Mahoney, and it's fine. I'm not saying he can't win. He's 6-1 morning line. I don't think I'll get 12 to 1. I think I'll get closer to 20 to 1 on Shadow Dragon. I think he's going to be a big price.
I wonder how they're going to bet the race. I wonder how they're going to bet the race underneath. No, this horse can win.
I just decided that Hit Show, I can't take it at a super short price. Dreamlight, I can't take it at a short price. Horse to beat or not, no argument with it. But I'm going to take somebody, and I look for prices, and this is the horse I landed on, and I think I can make enough of a case for him. But it's a fascinating wood, and it's going to be interesting because at this point, it's put up or shut up time because I don't think we've seen a year with the points where you need points to get into this Derby.
Correct.
I mean, we see a lot where guys are going. Rich Strike last year. Rich Strike wasn't getting into this year's Derby. And I guess a Rich Strike makes everyone run because.
That would have been nice.
Well, also because, especially for Steve Asmussen, because horses haven't been getting injured, thankfully. They've been staying sound, which is great. But also, we've had a lot of different winners in these races. A lot of different horses have been showing up in these races.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. Anyway, we are done. Head over to Naira Bets. You're just getting started. Get over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member, use the promo code. Bonus 200 will match the $200 of your initial deposit. We have the middle pick 4 in race number 4. We also have a middle pick 5 in race number 5. So 3 pick 4s, 3 pick 5s. Races 1 for the pick 5, race 5, and race 8, race 7. The pick 4s are the last 4, one of the first, the second, third, whatever. We have the Derby Bankroll Builder, 50 to win in the Wood. Opt in, but you get 20 back, win, lose, or draw for the Derby. And if you win, you'll have even more money for the Derby or for tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, it's Easter. Only Hawthorne, Gulfstream, and Santa Anita, you can't bet them anyway. That's Anthony and Maggie and Acacia, the Derby Dinner and Derby, May 3rd. You can email Anthony for that as well, or you can just attack him here at the Big A.
Mm-hmm. That's preferred,
as I
actually.
said, 90 cents to the dollar if you give him cash and unmarked bills in a suitcase. Cross-country pick 5, 3 stakes from Aqueduct, the 6th, 8th, and 11th, and 2 from Keeneland, including the Bluegrass. And we have America's Day at the Races. We are on from 12 to 2 on FS1. We are on 2 to 4:30 on FS2, and we are on Big Fox, covering the Wood. We're excited about that from 6 to 6:30.
There are pick packs for Aqueduct and Keeneland. Late pick 5 is going to come up for Aqueduct and Keeneland, and cross country pick 5 will all be up at night. The pick packs are up. The tickets will be up at Naira Bets shortly.
We're done. Chris Griffin, he's just getting started. He is going to call his first New York Grade 1.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Aqueduct. The track is fast, the turf is firm. It's Wood Memorial Day at the Big A. Here are today's scratches and changes. Race 1, start of the early pick 5 is clear. No changes. Race 2, start of the early pick 4. The 3 is +1. Scratch the 5. Purest Performance. The 10 is 2 pounds over. Race 3, the 1 is +1. Race 4, start of the middle pick 4, is clear. No changes. Race 5, there's a pick 5. Mandatory payout in that pick 5. The 4 is +1. The 6, 1 pound over. Scratch the 9, check engine light. Race number 6, start of the pick 6. The 5 is +1. Race 7, start of the late pick 5. The 2 will run in a hood. The 8 runs in a cheek piece again. Scratch the 10, My First Love. Race 8, beginning of the late pick 4. Scratch the 6, White Abarrio. Scratch the 6 in race 8. Race number 9. Scratch the 8, Know It All Audrey. Scratch the 8 in race 9. Race 10, the 3 is +1. The 11 is 1 pound over. Scratch the 12 into Symphony. Scratch the 12 in race 10. Race 11 is the 98th running of the Wood Memorial. Grade 2, it's presented by Resorts World Casino. Scratch the 6, Clear the Air. Scratch the 6 in race 11. Track is fast, the turf is firm. Race 1 is coming up in 1 mile, a field of 7. To kick off the card, it'll be the start of the early pick 5. Race 1 is next. Good luck.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are.